Right. So it's 8:30. We'll call the meeting to order. This is the Economic Development and UW Extension Committee meeting. Are we online? We have people in the rooms.
There's reminder, we got Janice Snyder, Ken Pearson, Lori Bill Crucius, Sherry Beckman.
Madam Clerk, are we in compliance with open meeting laws?
We are.
The meeting agenda has been posted. Is there any questions about the meeting agenda? Hearing none, we got to do a roll call. So Jesse Betcher. Here. Troy Morgan.
Here.
Tom Duffy.
Here.
Susie Taylor. And I'm present. Public comments. Is there anybody here who is not on the agenda who wishes to address the committee? And I suspect I had a hot mic situation.
Let's see, we can ask somebody if they can hear us.
Ask Sherry.
I can hear you.
Lori?
I saw Ken's thumb go up too. We can hear you.
1 second.
We can hear you.
I can hear you.
That is Sherry.
All right, public comment. Anybody here who wishes to address the committee? Hearing none, moving on to the minutes from the last meeting.
I move to approve them.
We have a motion for Mr. Duffy to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Second for Mr. Morgan. In discussion, is there any comment on the minutes? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Budget discussion, Mr. Hoff.
Yeah, we've got no changes to the budget since we met last. We did present the budget to the county board. And so it's in their hands currently. So we've got one more round of committee meetings. So if you've got any questions, comments about anything under this committee's jurisdiction, we can handle that now. Or if you've got questions that relate to any other subject, we can do that as well. Keep in mind that the public hearing for the budget is this Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m. And budget adoption next Tuesday. So we can entertain questions if there are any.
All right, so one of the things that has been mentioned, and I want to make sure that our new members, Mr. Betcher specifically, is we have a responsibility for the committees that report to us. And on Thursday is the open meeting on any of the budget modifications. And there's a question on the merit of the participation or the enrollment or whatever it is, the membership with the Northwest Regional Planning Commission report. We're going to get a report from Sheldon Johnson today. And I think he's either doing virtually or already submitted it. And there's a question as to whether there's a legal requirement for us to be part of that organization. And then there's a second question is the justification for the $30,000, is it the $30,000 membership fee?
It's our participation in that regional planning commission, yeah. So it's allocated amongst the counties that are enrolled in the commission. And Sheldon Johnson is on the line and he'll cover that in his presentation as well.
So the reason why I bring this up is not to bring Sheldon's discussion up now, is that we have a responsibility, whether you support Northwest Regional or not. It's our responsibility as committee members to represent the interest of this group to the full county board meeting if there's any questions about the modification. So between now and Thursday, Sheldon's going to give us a report, or Mr. Johnson's going to give us a report. Just make sure that we're ready for that discussion when Thursday comes. So is there any questions from the committee on the budget summary that's been been offered up? Mr. Duffy.
What's he going to ask for? Is he asking for more money or?
He's not. What it is finance is looking at whatever our budget is, and they're looking at areas that either there's unjustifiable costs or other costs that are in place. And it's come up now again the merit of some of the agencies that we sign up, and there's a question of what is the contribution that Northwest Regional Planning provides, and is it worth the money that we're investing for the membership fee or whatever that is.
So what's our position?
My position is I think that they provide a valuable service, and I think that we need to make sure that we maintain that kind of funding. If we're going to make that kind of analysis now at this late period, there better be a justifiable reason, because Mike or Mr. Keefe and Mr. Hoff have been working on this budget since July, and this is not a surprise. And so unless there's some kind of egregious change, I mean, this is the same thing I talked about with the library. The library request has gone through. We've balanced the budget. We've got our budget proposal that's in place. If we're going to make these kind of nitpicky kind of changes, there better be a reason for it. And for me, I think that the people who put the effort into this budget, their work should be reflected by the support going forward. In the community, if they've got something they want to bring up, that's fine. But if we're going to have an internal discussion at the 11th hour is not the time to have that discussion. So that's my position. So.
Well, do we all agree with that?
What's that?
Well, the committee all agrees with that?
Well, I don't want to speak for the committee. I'm just speaking for my position, and as my responsibility as the committee chair, that's the position I'm taking going into the meeting. And what I'm asking for the committee members is just to make yourself aware that, one, there's an issue. Second, this question may come up. And then third, we have a responsibility as best as we can to speak to it. If you don't support whatever that request is, that's fine. I mean, that's definitely within your purview. But just know that my position is this, and I'm counting on this committee to speak to that issue. If there's something that comes up, that's fine. I'm just making you aware of it. That's where I'm.
Well, we should have it now. We should have our hands up if someone disagrees for us here on the committee.
Well,
Anybody disagree with that?
I do not.
I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, then if we're gonna have that kind of discussion, we have more than a few things on here. It's my position on all of these, and the other one that's gonna be the tough one is Hayward Lakes Convention Bureau. Sherry, am I saying that right? Hayward Lakes Visitors Convention Bureau?
Yes. HLB.
Hayward Lakes Visitors and Convention Bureau, correct,
And they are requesting, is it 50,000, right?
correct.
And that has been perpetually a major sticking point. And I was on the record, unofficially on the record last year, saying I wasn't going to support it going into this year. But to me, there's just as everyone else has flip-flopped on positions over this last year, I'm going to flip-flop on this one, and I support this because I think the effort and the actions that they're doing it brings a contribution to the county. And it's not always directly realized, but there's a third-party beneficiary component that comes in with their contribution, and it's 50,000, and it's been incorporated in the budget, and we've gone through the exercise, and we've kind of tortured this out. This is going to come up again, and we need to get ready for this discussion. So if you don't support that, I'm fine with that. I'm not trying to cement your position. I'm just telling you that this is our responsibility to speak to that, and so just letting you know.
Did we, under this agenda item, Mr. Chair, did we put possible action under budget, or it's for discussion only?
It's discussion. I mean, I don't know if it's an action.
Yeah, I mean, the budget is in the board's hands, so you can talk about your positions and make modifications when you, at the board meeting. I mean, that'll be where modifications occur. I mean, if you come to some consensus about, what is under your purview, that's certainly your prerogative. And I think when we get in front of the full board, each committee is deemed to be the expert in those things that are under their purview. So that's why it's important to flesh out those issues that come up, whether it be Northwest Regional Planning or Visitors Bureau or whatever. You've got to have a full understanding of why the budget is the way it is, and if you want something different, it's certainly your prerogative. So it's important that you understand what the issues are. And just as a reminder too, the Visitors Bureau and the Economic Development Corp, those were two issues that were funded by resource development in the past. And that fund is depleted, so now that's back in the operating budget. So that's why there's no 2020 budget for those items in the history. So that's one thing that's now within the operating budget and under the levy limits. So that's a change that happened from the year before, but virtually everything else is pretty much status quo from request, with the exception of the fair, I think.
The
had
fair
an
is slightly
additional
higher.
$10,000 for
For
some
capital
capital
improvements?
items, right?
So and then for Mr. Betcher's edification, so the Sawyer County LCO Economic Development Corporation was operating under I don't know if it's an MOU, but it was operating under a 3-year agreement where there was a contribution from the county and then a contribution from the tribe. And then eventually it was supposed to be self-sustaining. Clearly, COVID has had some impact on what we define as self-sustaining. And so it's going to come back up, and there's going to be a few people that are going to have questions about it. So the only thing I want you guys to take from this discussion on this agenda item at this meeting right now is not to secure your position in supporting it, is to make sure that you're educated when we go to the discussion, because these are the questions that I'm going to rise up to speak to, and whatever your positions are, just make sure that we're ready for it. And this is something that I think every committee chair should be bringing up to every committee as we get ready for the budget exercise on the 5th. It's just that it's brand new. So is there any other discussion? So Hayward, the Visitors Bureau is going to be a hot item. The Sawyer County Economic Development Corporation is going to be a hot item. Northwest Regional Planning Commission is going to be a hot item. And it's a hot item because it's outside agencies that are looking to make their budget, balancing the budget at the expense of these agencies. And so sometimes we're the last line to making sure that these agencies' requests are honored or at least discussed.
I mean, in terms of HLBCB, I'm just looking at the tax revenues that came in, and it's really difficult to determine which Chamber of Commerce brought people here, HLBCB, but I think it is important to note that with the border to Canada being closed, we were in a perfect position to take advantage, and it's because of all those organizations.
Right.
It doesn't happen automatically at all. It's very competitive out there. So I will be bringing that up most assuredly.
And the other thing I wanted to make sure that we don't forget is that when we had the COVID stuff happening in March, Sawyer County Economic Development Corporation was actually one of the first agencies to start providing positive support for the local smaller businesses in terms of how to handle the PPP, some of the other COVID tasking and things, and they had these Zoom seminars and whatever else, and so that's easy for that to be missed because it's we have such a short attention span.
So Troy, what are you asking for?
The same as last year. Which organization? It's both of them are the same as last year. 25,000 for the Economic Development Corporation and 50,000 for Hayward Lakes Visitors and Convention Bureau. It hasn't changed from last year. The only thing that's changed is where it comes from.
Yeah.
Mr. Betcher, you got any questions?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
All right, so, and Ms. Taylor's not on the line. Do we have Ms. Taylor?
No.
All right. Any other discussion for item number 6? Hearing none, moving on now to the Sawyer County Agricultural Fair Association report.
Rick Christian, Sawyer County Fair President. We're planning, making our plans for next summer. We've already started signing contracts. We'll have the bull riding and the carnival and the dirt dash race will all be the same. The bull riding and the carnival, we have 2 more years of our contracts left with them. We're going to try and bring Chris Cruzy back again, and hopefully not have COVID or any storms. So, we did actually, with the changes that we did make last year with the fair and our numbers being down 42%, we did actually make money this year. So we were able to pay all of our bills as soon as after the fair was over, which was really surprising. I don't have too much for an update other than we've just been planning for trying to make, keep improving on the fair and try and make it bigger if we can.
So you do have a $10,000 capital improvement request.
Yes.
Is there like the rationale for that? There's like documents for why you came with $10,000?
Yeah, well, I didn't bring them with me, but we do. I sat with a contractor and went through our horse barn. A big improvement is our horse barn because we don't have enough stalls. We have temporary stalls set up. And every year we have 16 permanent stalls, and the last 5 years it just keeps growing. So we've got another 6 or 8 temporary stalls that we've had made for the last couple of years. So that was about $5,000 in material. And then the other big improvement is change in, our horse arena is all sand and deep. So there's some soft spots in it that occasionally, the horses trip in it. So we're going to try and change that with a kind of a clay mixture and make it a little more firm and safer for all the kids.
So I just want to make sure on the record that your request is not just a number that you threw out there, that there's actually a rational basis for why you asked for that mulch.
Yes, yep. There is, and I can email it to you.
We're good. I mean, I think as long as Mr. Hoff has that.
Is that different than what you submitted with your budget request?
Nope, it's same. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's same thing. It's, yeah, nothing that we submitted was labor. Labor is all being donated. It's all just material.
So, and I'm asking you a question you may not know the answer to. Your affair was in August, right?
Yep.
The event was in August, and it's now November. Do you, to your knowledge, have any information about was there any kind of COVID breaks or super spreader event or anything else that was tied with your event?
There is nothing that I was ever made aware of.
So nothing from the public health officer, nothing else, nothing?
Nope,
And
nothing
so,
at all.
with all the precautions and things that you did for your event, even though you had a decrease in attendance, there was nothing from your event that contributed to the spread of COVID?
Nothing at all.
All right. That's good. Any questions for Mr. Christensen? Anybody in the Zoom room that has any questions regarding the Sawyer County Fair? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on, University of Wisconsin Extension. Lori, you have the floor, only because I don't remember how to say your last name.
I don't either. So good morning. I'm actually out at LCO. We are meeting with the Tribal Governing Board this morning to talk about our MOU a little bit, and for Riga to give a report out here today. So I won't take much of your time. I just wanted to make sure that I was available to you as you were talking, Mr. Schlender, about budget stuff, and if there were questions that I could answer for you. But it is part of the reason that we've been giving you the numbers and giving you those budget outlines probably since August or so, just so that you have that information as you move forward with your budget decisions. So I think you all have that in your hands from the past couple of months. And I will also just say that there might be a point in time that maybe we want to talk with this committee. Maybe it's next month after budget stuff, but just talking about the possibility of our 4-H and youth development educator being involved in some restorative youth for the county after Diane McNamara's position has been changed around a little bit. Sky and I have been talking a little bit about some options that might be helpful for the county when it comes to youth and restorative justice. So I'm just planting that seed with you this morning, and we can talk about it more after budget stuff is over. But I'll be glad to answer any questions you have too.
Any questions for Lori? She's actually got a last name. I'm not trying to be informal or say anything other than the fact that I don't know how to say her last name.
I married it. It was a choice.
So I have one follow-up to your point, Lori. Can you have Sky contact Shannon Krause, who is the clerk that works with the truancy court? We're trying to we're trying to reassemble the truancy court team, and if she could be part of that discussion, if only just an observer, that would be one step into the restorative justice component that we're working on.
Yep, perfect. I think she's been following it a little bit too, so I'll make sure that she's involved in preliminary discussions, I guess, and see if there's an option to help. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding the UW extension report from anybody? Not. We're going to move on. Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau. Sherry, you have the floor, Ms. Beckman.
Good morning. I just wanted to let you guys know that I did apply for the travel grant through the Department of Tourism, and we did receive $37,198.53. Now this money we had to show lost revenue, you know, like things that we had to buy to open up the information center with, you know, the masks and cleaning supplies and things like that. So this, everyone got a little excited because they're like, oh, what are you going to spend this $37,000 on for advertising? But it's actually kind of just fulfilling what we've already budgeted for that we didn't receive revenue on. Friday was a great day. We got the vacation guide, went to the printer on Friday. It will be here by December 1st. We did have to decrease the number of guides. We went down to 65,000 because we're really uncertain about the sport shows. Right now, there's been 3 that have been canceled. We normally go to 13 and give out between 500 and 1,000 at each show. So we did decide to scale back a little bit on the vacation guides to 65,000. And we also had to decrease the number of pages just because our advertisers were, they just weren't sure. I mean, I think people had a good summer, but they're just really uncertain about how things are going to go forward. So we went from 80 pages down to 72, but we will have that new guide in our hands by December 1st. We are going to do the big bundle up program, which is the 10th year anniversary with the Department of Tourism. So we're going to collect mittens and coats and hats and things, and we're going to distribute those through the community. I have a fall conference on Thursday with the Destinations Wisconsin, and everything's gonna be virtually. So that I'm looking forward to that. I get a lot of insight from what other destinations are doing at this time, so it'll be good information. I also finished a PR. It was a mentorship program. They kind of helped us through this whole pandemic on, how to handle PR, social media, and different things like that, which was a matched program. So it only cost us $200 for me to take that class. And then again, our sledding in Sawyer County will start December 1st.
Any questions for Ms. Beckman? Any questions for her from the Zoom room? Hearing none. Jerry, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 10, Northwest Regional Planning Commission report. Mr. Johnson, you have the floor.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm gonna tag team between myself and Ken Pearson here, but I'll start out the conversation briefly, and I'll pick up after Ken's done. Appreciate the opportunity to present to you today on behalf of the Planning Commission. With that, I'll address some of the concerns that were expressed earlier, or maybe not concerns, but just comments that were made earlier in the meeting under public comment. And I'll do that in my portion of the presentation. But at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ken. So Ken Pearson is going to talk a little bit about the ED side of our operation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sheldon. The report that I sent to Carol this morning is projects regarding the Revolving Loan Fund program specifically. We do have other economic development programs here at Northwest Regional Planning, including technical assistance, consulting. We have 5 enterprise centers across the Northwest portion of the state. But this report's only for the Revolving Loan Fund program. So the first section, the projects funded between 2017 and 20, we just wanted to show Sawyer County's activity regarding our Revolving Loan Fund program since I stepped on. I came on board with regional planning back in June of 2017. And you can see we have closed quite a few, or have awarded and closed quite a few different loans during that time period. NWBDC is a pretty active program for Sawyer County. Caking Me Crazy is actually one of the newer loans we closed with Sawyer County, or in Hayward. It's the bakery, which is on the northeast side on Highway 77, across kind of long kitty corner across from Walmart, and she's doing a fantastic job. I think she had a 2-week slowdown during the little COVID downturn, and then she just picked it up, and she's been busier than busy since then. That Stone Lake Properties that was closed on 6/10 of 2019. That money went to help fund the Stone Lake Senior Center or Community Center. So some pretty deep economic as well as community impact through that fund source, and a business who is willing to step up and take a private-public partnership to the next level to build the facility that's going to house the Stone Lake Senior Center, or is housing the Stone Lake Senior Center. Moving on, we have a microloan program here that has done 3 loans with Sawyer County in the last 3 years. And then we also have New Red, the Northwest Wisconsin Regional Economic Development Fund, which was actually dollars that came from Sawyer County back in 2006 under the governor's initiative to try to regionalize some of the community development block grant economic development funds. And under the great outlook and the thinking of the time, and currently now as well of the Sawyer County Board, as well as the municipalities, they decided it's better to put the local pots of money under one umbrella, and 6 other counties joined the efforts. So it's a 7-county fund. And just recently in 2019, those counties and municipalities that did not consolidate their funding lost their funding through a housing and urban development and CDBG closeout program that was a directive from the State Department of Administration. So had you all thanks to all of your great forward view and forward looking on how the money would be better suited under one umbrella, you actually helped save quite a bit of money. The New Red program overall has $4.5 million in assets for revolving loan funds for Northwest Wisconsin. And recently, through the Closeout Act from Economic Development and CDBG, the region, not Sawyer County, but the region lost over $2 million that had to be turned back to the state. So thank you all very much back in 2006 for having a long view look at important economic development activities that are still impacting us today. And then other exciting news is that regional planning was awarded $1 million to capitalize a new revolving loan fund. And one of the first 2 projects that was received and awarded was Scooter Bugs LLC, doing business as NEB Bobbins, which is midway down the screen. We're going to close that loan here on November 11th. So they were one of the first 2 projects, and they also received a loan out of brand new funding to our program. If you could scroll up a little bit, I'm sorry. We'll kind of go through we have different revolving loan funds here. Yep, right there. And you can take a look at the good standing projects in Sawyer County. NWBDC has about, right now has about $500,000 of loan funds revolving that are good standing loan program or loans with businesses in the area. NWBDC has injected about $1 million total since the inception of the program way long ago, and we've only had 1 write-off. The microloan program started in 2014. Currently has $81,000 worth of loans revolving in Sawyer County, and a total project injection of $115,000 out of a potential $1 million, and no write-offs out of 5 total Sawyer County projects. We can scroll down now, please. New Red, which was the money given to regional planning for the recapitalization of funds from the different municipalities. Currently, there's about almost $700,000 revolving just in Sawyer County alone. And total projects since inception New Red back in 2006 has been over $1 million. And then the CARES Act being brand new to regional planning, a $30,000 project is happening already out of the $1 million that we've received. And we only have 2 projects so far in queue for the CARES Act EDA, and Sawyer County was 1. So the total injection for businesses that are in good standing and active is $1.3 million. Remember, we're a program that exists to help either banks make their loans better or help businesses that the banks aren't interested in. But they're still good projects, still good businesses. They just have to be built to bankable. So that's a potential of $1.3 million of injection that would not have occurred outside of our ability to help Sawyer County businesses grow and receive that funding. In overall injections is about $2.2 million since the inception of all of our loan programs to date. We've received 11 inquiries from Sawyer County out of 75 total from the 10 county region. Over the past months, I've been giving these monthly updates. However, from March until now, they've been put somewhat on hiatus, only because our revolving, our lending has kind of slowed down. But we've been helping our businesses with technical assistance, guidance during this time, just talking to a lot of businesses, looking at their cash flow, helping them decide which ways to take. However, we still have had 9 loans close over the summer, and 3 of those loans came from Sawyer County businesses. So a third of the loans that we've closed over the summer have been Sawyer County businesses. And again, Jim Miller, so council member Jim Miller for the city of Hayward, partnered with regional planning to establish a downtown Hayward facade program to help the facade and aesthetic of downtown businesses. The facade plan was approved in the summer of 2020. And what that program is meant to do is take that Northwest Wisconsin Regional Economic Development Fund money and help improve the facades of businesses that are eligible or seeking money. So that could have a big impact on your downtown Main Street businesses with helping them with facade updates. Currently, we have $5 million available through all of our loan funds and a $13 million asset overall. So when you are going to the county board, remember that if for whatever reason membership's rescinded, you also lose the stake of that $13 million that could go towards Sawyer County projects in the future, because you have to be a member of regional planning to be eligible for those loan funds. So that's $13 million worth of assets that regional planning has for Sawyer County and our 10 county region. And currently we have $5 million of loan money available that could go towards Sawyer County projects. And I'll pass it over to Sheldon. Thank you all.
All right, thanks, Ken. And I'm going to pick up on pretty much where Ken left off as it relates to membership of the Planning Commission. I know for the time that I've been here at the Planning Commission as staff, and now most recently as the director, we have conversations from time to time with all of our members across the county as it relates to what's the value that the Planning Commission provides to you. And when I say you, it's not necessarily Sawyer County specifically, but it's the Sawyer County geographic area. So regional planning commissions were established back in 1959 by state statute. And I'm not going to try to take a long period of time to give you this high overview, but just to give you the primer of kind of where things are as it relates to planning commissions. So Northwest Regional Planning Commission was created in 1959. So for 62 years, we've been providing planning and economic development assistance to the region. And our members are the 10 counties. So each county has a choice to be a member of Northwest Regional Planning Commission. As part of that membership, your community has access to our services. So when I say community, I'm not specifically referring to Sawyer County, but I'm also referring to all your towns, cities, and villages have access to ask us questions, contract with us for work provided, and the like. So I often refer to it as that the county is providing membership, if you will, to the entire unit of government levels, including the county, access to our organization staff. We're 14 staff members currently located in Spooner, and we provide everything from economic development activities, which Ken spoke to planning, environmental services, housing administration as well. So there's 4 key pillars that we have in our office. So in addition to the membership side of it, the membership levy, if you will, that Sawyer County has budgeted for is a number that's derived based on statutes. we have to use the equalized value of all of our county members to determine what the contribution of share is to the overall budget. And that budget internally, or that conversation internally, goes through two different phases. It goes to from my desk to my executive board. So every year in May, I make a recommendation to my executive committee. My executive committee is made up of 11 members. Tweed Schuman is the chair of Sawyer County, and he sits on our executive committee. They review the recommendation. In the last 12 years, they decided that the 211,830 number is the number that we use for membership. And then we look at equalized value of every county, and then we derive out what the equalized share is of the 10 counties. So that's how we derive that number. So that 211 grand is part of our $2.9 million budget that we have overall. So it's a small share of the contribution. Primarily, we use those funds to match several of the different grant programs that we access that cover the entire region. EDA is one of those, and there's others as well. But what the membership value is of Sawyer County is that it enables all of your units of governments to access the quality staff, professional staff that we have here at the Planning Commission. So I'm going to give you, again, just a 2 minutes overview of some of the different things that we've been working on behalf of Sawyer County in Sawyer County. And then I'll take any questions that you all have. So I'm not going in any order here specifically, but we administer a regional housing program on behalf of the 10 counties in Sawyer County over the last, since 2017 to current. We've initiated 19 loans that total $477,000. And those are targeted to low to moderate income households. Those are folks that really can't oftentimes afford to make the improvements, but these dollars are lent to them at a 0% interest deferred payments. So it really provides opportunities for those folks to make improvements to their home. In addition, we administer the Sawyer County Revolving Loan Fund. We've done 6 loans most recently. None in 2020, however, in part because we have a small balance. There's only $5,000 available in that loan fund. So that's why we look to the regional program for funding assistance. Under our household hazardous waste program, we operate that, and we have since the early 1990s, 1996. So that program's been beneficial to your residents to get rid of materials at no cost to them as a resident. Under the economic development side for EDA, as an economic development district under the Housing and Urban Development Program, pardon me, not the Housing and Urban Development Program, but under the U.S. Department of Commerce program, we receive funding assistance that we provide technical assistance to businesses, to other organizations across. So Crystal Rohde in our office is the primary contact for that. We're working on many different things. There's a wood industry collaborative effort that she's working on and has been working on across the north. Our RISE sessions that we've been having, we did not have one this year in due part because of the pandemic. We've got a couple of them actually in Hayward, worked on some placemaking work in Hayward as well. We've been working with the school districts across the region to try to mentor youth with businesses and partner with them to do a little more career learning and expanding their insight of what businesses are actually located in their community to try to keep that tie of keeping kids knowledgeable about businesses, business opportunities, and also to try to have those kids see the value of the industries that they have in their backyard, maybe entice them to stay here and work here. We also have our CEDS, our Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. The Visions Northwest group is the primary staff and group that works on the development of that program. And that was just recently approved by our board at our last meeting here, or by the executive committee last week. And then finally on the planning side, the planning side probably has the most effort, if you will, for projects that we work with. And I know oftentimes we get wrapped from folks that say, well, you charge communities for the work that you do. And that is true, we do. Every regional planning commission charges a fee for the work that we do. If we did all the work that we were requested to do and do, the $35,000 that Sawyer County would provide would barely scratch the surface. So I'm just going to rattle off a few projects that we've been working on or have just recently completed in Sawyer County. So we just recently completed the Sawyer County Hazard Mitigation Plan for the county-wide. We're currently working on the Sawyer County Comprehensive Plan revisions at the county level. We're working right now with the town of Draper on their comprehensive plan update. We've worked with the town of Spider Lake, town of Hayward, town of Round Lake. We're currently working with the city of Hayward on their comp plan update. We did the Hayward Area Placemaking Project back in 2019. As a result of that, the Birkenbinder Foundation looked at doing an application to USDA Rural Development. They were not able to apply themselves, but they partnered with the Planning Commission, and we submitted that application on their behalf. Unfortunately, there was such a large demand for the $1 million that was available. There was over 14 million requested for 1 million available. Their application wasn't funded, but certainly that's an opportunity. If there's additional dollars that would come up, we could partner with them again on that. We did a flood study back in 2018. We worked on the Hayward Lakes Area Disaster Preparedness Workshop, and there's a much larger list as well that goes on. Ken mentioned the EDA revolving loan funds that we recently received, that $1 million. We also received a $400,000 grant from EDA to provide some CARES Act preparedness and pandemic planning for the region. Sawyer County being part of that, we'll be just starting to work on that here later this fall and over the next year and a half. And part of that will be a hazard vulnerability assessment. We'll be working with all of the public health departments across the region to look at what some of the pandemic responses have been and will be in the future, and look at how public health agencies, emergency managers, and others can take aggregate information and move forward in a strategic plan to address resiliency and pandemic preparedness and responses. So those are some of the things that that we've been working on that are Sawyer County wide. And I think it's a benefit for Sawyer County and your contribution to the Planning Commission and being a member. I know that I attend some of your meetings periodically, as does Ken, and we appreciate the value that Sawyer County has as a member of the Planning Commission. So if there are any questions, Mr. Chair, for either Ken or I, we'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions from the committee? Mr. Morgan? Mr. Betcher? Mr. Duffy? So I have a couple, not questions, but more of a comment, a little bit of a history. So our county board chair sits by virtue of office, ex officio, on the executive committee, as do the other county board chairs. And so Tweed is the representative for the county. We have an alternate that used to come from this committee, but a couple of years ago, when we reconstituted the finance committee, the alternate, who was Mr. Paulson, was removed from this committee and installed with the finance. And so our two representatives that would be at these meetings doesn't participate in this committee. And I would hope that in the future that could be addressed, because the second part of this question is, we get this information from Mr. Johnson pretty readily, pretty frequently. His staff rotate through every month, and they give an update either on the revolving loan committee, the different initiatives. And so it's troublesome to me that we have criticism about what the contribution is from the two people that, or not from the two people, but the two people that would speak to, that could connect the report from the committee and the report from the larger agency are not in the same conversation. The second thing, and this is for Mr. Betcher and then for Mr. Morgan, is 4 years ago, there was a brand new committee member who came on this committee and saw all of these expenditures that were being allocated without any real explanation. And so we called a special meeting and basically interrogated all of these different agencies to kind of report. From that interrogation came a lot of stress, but second was a clear report monthly on the different activities. And so Ms. Beltruce was part of that, Ms. Beckman, Mr. Johnson. Fair was part of that. It was changed up, because I don't know if Christensen was the chair. And so we went through this interrogation, and it was a big deal. But what they did is they started learning, or they already were doing, but we gave them a venue for them to kind of share what their contributions were. And so that we stayed abreast of what that is. So Mr. Johnson has given this report in the past. And so I know this is probably the first time that Mr. Betch has probably seen it, probably the second time that Mr. Morgan has seen it. And so these committee members do a lot, these agencies do a lot of work for the county. It's an important contribution, and they rely on us to carry that message going forward. So Mr. Hopp, I know, is part of the assignment committees. Some other people may have a better line of communication with Mr. Schuman, but we need to really re-examine who are liaisons at the Northwest Regional Planning, so we don't have this kind of question coming up at the 11th hour, somehow questioning what their contribution is. Because as you can see from Mr. Johnson's report, there's $1 million that comes through Northwest Regional Planning by virtue of our participation. So this is a penny wise but dollar foolish type of discussion at the 11th hour. So I'm done with my rant. I'm hoping that everyone is understanding of what our responsibilities are. Mr. Johnson, do you have any comment regarding what my oratory was about?
No, I completely understand your comments. The only thing I wanted to add for the benefit of the group is that Sawyer County's membership in Northwest Regional Planning Commission has been solid over the years. Since the inception of the Planning Commission back in 1959, we had full membership of all 10 counties in 1966, and we have never had a county remove themselves from the Planning Commission membership. So we feel strong and confident that, as staff, we can respond to questions, concerns that, county board supervisors and others have. And I'll just say, and I try to be as truthful as I can. This question comes up often in Sawyer County at this point in time when it comes to budget. We don't have a lot of conversation about membership of the county, of any other county for that matter, for the most part. Sawyer County has always been a county that asks questions about value and what we bring to the county. And I appreciate the opportunity to do this again. As the chair mentioned, we have a great presentation we can provide to the committee members, as we did about 4 years ago, to provide that information and value. So it's really important that, as we move forward, certainly we want to have that dialogue with all of you as committee and as the county board. I believe I need to do some direct dialogue with Tweed and Bruce Paulson. So both of those gentlemen are our executive committee membership. So Tweed is on the executive committee as the county board chair. And I believe Bruce or Mr. Paulson and Mr. Schuman are commission members. So if they're not understanding exactly what we're doing as it relates to membership and responsibilities to the full county, I will take it upon myself to educate them a little bit more and give them some more insight in exactly what we're doing. So I'll take that on myself.
Any other comments or questions from Mr. Johnson? All right. Mr. Johnson, thank you for your report. Moving on now to number 11, Economic Development Corporation report. Mr. Morgan, I'm going to defer to you.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our executive director, Mr. Mike Gardner, and our president, Ms. Jessica Wagner-Schultz, are not able to be here this morning because they are meeting with the tribal governing board to have a plan for a memorandum of understanding and with the county, or with the organization, and also do ask for their support going forward in the new fiscal year, their financial support, of course. We did get news on 2 of our pilot projects that we had applied for. We were not selected as one of the 3 counties for the housing pilot program or the broadband. It was highly competitive. I think what's important to know is that we were at least in the mix, and we may or may not have been without the efforts and having someone looking for those types of opportunities. So Mr. Gardner has done a great job in bringing those to the forefront, working on those, making sure that, Sawyer County is in the mix. We're also looking at a grant program with a deadline of December 1st for the Public Service Commission's Broadband grants, expansion grant program. That's being worked on. Mr. Gardner has reached out to all of the broadband service providers in the county. He's only waiting on one of the service providers to get back to him, and then that grant can be completed and be submitted before the deadline. One of the things that's also happening is that we're partnering with the Small Business Association up in Superior to try to get a CARES grant, money to do a market analysis of the whole county. And hopefully that can happen, because that's the more components you have in terms of showing your data research for a county when you apply for a grant, it quite often provides ammunition as to why you look better than another applicant. So we're extremely excited about that. Hopefully we'll get that grant money and be able to do that market study for the entire county, and that will include all entities, county, large businesses, small businesses. Part of it will be housing. I don't know how far it gets into that, but also tribal businesses, whether that's private tribal members having businesses or the tribe as a whole. So we're pretty excited. Mr. Gardner, in my opinion, is doing a fantastic job of really searching these things out, which really can only enhance the grant opportunities we find as both a county and a tribe. So that's our goal now, is to establish those relationships so that if one entity finds something that may not specifically work for them, we can share it with others which may work for those entities. So if anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Morgan regarding the Sawyer County Economic Development Corporation?
Hey, Mr. Chair, this is Sheldon. Can I just make one comment?
Sure.
All right. So as Mr. Morgan mentioned, they're looking at some funding assistance through the CARES Act dollars. Obviously, we work closely with the Sawyer County LCO Economic Development Corporation, and are certainly stand here for purposes of, collaboration, cooperation. If they do look to fund or make an application to EDA for assistance, we certainly would provide an application, a letter of recommendation. Any application through EDA, as they know, has to come to the Planning Commission for concurrence with its SEDS document, its Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy document. So certainly that's something that we'll partner with them and provide assistance for certain. The other additional thing I just wanted to mention, as Mr. Morgan likely knows, EDA does fund incubator, enterprise center, facility feasibility studies. So they could apply for up to 50 grand or more to have a professional do an incubator management plan feasibility study for that project if they were going to move forward that route. Would not include anything housing related, but it would at least look at opportunities for industrial expansion and development of an enterprise center building there. So I know Crystal Rohde and our staff spoken with the executive directors and others, but just wanted to again relay the fact that, across the platform of all the organizations that Sawyer County supports, there's that collaboration and communications across all of us. It's not one silo working alone. It's collectively working together. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
And just if I could follow up very quickly, when the Economic Development Corporation were doing all of the webinars to provide assistance for the PPP, the all-in grants and other options, Mr. Johnson and Northwest Regional Planning Commission staff members, as well as folks from SBA, were extremely helpful and joined in on many of those meetings. So thank you for that, sir.
Yep.
Any other questions for Sawyer County Economic Development Corporation? Mr. Betcher? Mr. Duffy?
No.
Mr. Morgan? I have one thing, and I just want to put this out there, and it was from Mr. Johnson's report or Mr. Pearson's report about the facade of Hayward. if there's money that's working towards the city in terms of some kind of development, smarter minds than mine should be having a discussion about what our second courtroom project is, that California Street, 5th Street, redevelopment, water main, all of that construction. If there's something that can be done to help offset the cost for that, I would hope that those minds can get together and help us strategize a way to raise money to help pay for those expenses. So that's everyone's 8 o'clock warning that we're going to be looking for money. So anything else for item number 11, Economic Development Corporation? Moving on to number 12. Mr. Morgan, thank you for the report. Number 12, 2021 committee dates. So Monday, July 5th is a holiday, and
Monday, September 6th.
What's that?
Mine says Tuesday, September 6th. I think that should be Monday.
Yeah.
So do we have, so what we have here is a proposal for scheduling for next year. And it looks like July and September, those Mondays are holidays. They're asking for the committee to meet instead of Monday, but that Tuesday.
Do you need a motion?
I think we're going to need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve this scheduling to have it on Tuesday, July 6th and Tuesday, September 6th.
All right, so I have a motion to change the September and the July economic development meetings from Monday to Tuesday, same time, same place. I have a second from Mr. Duffy. In discussion, Tuesdays, normally what we do, we went to the subsequent Monday. So if we're going to go to the Tuesday, I don't care either way, but as long as we're conscious of that, it means you guys got to check your schedules. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Any
opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. That was moving on to number 13, any future agenda items? Any other matters for discussion only?
Just one item, I can bring you a little up to date on the Brookline.
That would be great.
Current time they have about, okay,
No, that's fantastic. In fact, I don't know why we don't have that.
they have about 8,500 skiers. This year it'll be different than other years, but there will be a Berkey. It's going to run over 5 days. 3 days will be skating, 2 days will be classic. It will not be a finish on the main street because of the health problems. So it's going to start at Cable, go towards Double O, and then return. Even though there won't be a finish on the main street, these skiers are still going to have lodging here, they're still going to be eating here. So Hayward Cable should feel the impact of the event, much the same as prior years. This past week, the 77 bridge was put up. The decking won't be on until the next 10 days. The snowmaking has begun at Cable, and the next event up there is going to be a holiday camp called Berkey Turkey, and we'll be skiing and ski camp and new ski equipment that's available there. The foreign skiers will be here this year, and as they can fly, we're shut down to Europe. Hopefully they'll all show, but this impact of the virus affects the races in Europe as well as here. Let's see. I think that's much all I have. Besides the 5 days set for racing, there's also a virtual component. So those that don't feel safe can ski at home and send in the results. So the event's going to be on, and hopefully we'll feel the economic impact as other years, maybe even more so. So that's kind of occurring. But it's nice now that Brookline in normal years will be able to run without interfering with any highways. We'll have all of the highways bridged, which would be really nice feature for the race. The only one of its kind in the whole world. So Brookline is excited about what lies ahead. Hopefully we have some snow, but at least we'll have some man-made early snow. So That's my report.
So, is there, should we have them on the agenda? You used to have them on the agenda.
Yeah, I think it should be on the agenda. It's an economic impact for the county for sure.
I would just, if Mr. Poppy is it Pop or Poppy or Pop? Pop. If he's comfortable, we can put him on for next month.
Okay.
Have him come in. The two questions. One is the report that he just gave, which is thankful. He also has very good enough. The second one was, there was a discussion we had 2 years ago regarding, this was tied to the Hayward Lakes Convention Bureau's contribution, was we were going to see if the Burkebiner was in a position to help either with some fundraising, help offset the cost of that expense. And I wanted to have a conversation with Mr. Pop to see how that conversation is developed, and if that's still a germane item. And the only reason why is because there's been a history of cooperation between the county and the Burkebiner. And there was a time when the Burkebiner was in dire straits and the county came to help them. And now, I don't say we're in dire straits, but we're in some serious budget discussions. And that if the Burkebiner is in a position to maybe provide some assistance or some direction, I think that would be a welcome conversation. So if we could add Burkebiner as a separate agenda item for next month's meeting, we can have that discussion.
I won't be in next week.
Anything else, Betcher?
No, do you need a motion to adjourn?
No, we're about to adjourn. I just want to make sure. Mr. Duffy, Mr. Morgan. All right, we're done. This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
That is the sign that the meeting went too long.